Good morning, friends. Good morning, and welcome to OBC Midweek News. And it's great to be joined back with Martin, who's recovered from COVID a week or so ago. Negative testing, I can confirm. So it's good that you're back and back in health, Martin. Welcome. And I'm really pleased, actually, we can be joined this morning by someone who's doing fantastic work with people on the ground in the Ukraine. And Martin, someone you know as well.
Yes, John and his wife go to the church that we were at in the New Forest, Ashley Baptist Church. John, it's great to welcome you this morning.
Thank you, Martin. Good to see you.
Thank you for being with us. And John is director, chief executive officer, something like that, of a charity called Hope Now, which is based in Southampton, but has long been working primarily in the Ukraine. And John, tell us about Hope Now. How long has it been working in the Ukraine, John?
Well, thanks for your time this morning, Martin. Yeah, so Hope Now has been working in Ukraine for about 30 years now, since the split up of the Soviet Union. And we tend to work in the very center of the country, which is a place called Cherkasy. It's a city that used to have around 300,000 population, and they're both Ukrainian and Russian speaking. They're actually based right on the river Dnieper. It's, as I say, in the center of the country, and it has one of the bridges across the river Dnieper, which I'm sure might be of interest to others in coming weeks.
Yes, and John, you've been to the Ukraine and have many friends there now over the years, and I guess you've been there many times.
Yes, in fact, I was looking in my passport the other day. In fact, my second passport. If I add the two together, I've done, excuse me, 93 trips to Ukraine. They stamped the passport, so incredible. That's how many trips. My wife used to come with me quite regularly as well. Normally for helping with bags and things that before we were able to send boxes. And yes, you're right. We've got many friends there. Many of the churches we've been able to support in the Cherkasy region, as well as many families and children. The list goes on.
Wow. And when you say support, do you have Christian missionaries on the ground there, and how many, and what sort of work have they been doing before this year, really?
Yeah. So Hope Now stands for healthcare, orphanages, prisons, education, evangelism, and elderly. That's the sort of the broad area of our work. We also have a school of biblical studies where we have about 20 trainee pastors. And also we teach some of the Sunday school teachers there. They're mainly the ladies. They don't tend to have female pastors in Ukraine at the moment. So that's the sort of the broad aspect of our work.
That's brilliant.
And John, I can imagine that your heart is breaking at what is going on now and the terrible war that's being inflicted on the people there. How do you feel about it?
Martin, we've been in tears this week. I organised a prayer meeting last Monday with three of our sisters. Misha, who's our Ukraine director, was also invited, but he was unable to attend because of the situation of bombing. The ladies I was talking to are out in a place called Russian Valley, and they were quite close to an ammunition dump, which had been attacked by missiles a few days before, but they were left allowed to remain in their homes after a period of time. So there was Lida and her sister Svieta, who both work for us, plus their niece, a young lady, Vitalina, who'd only got married last year. When I said to the older lady, how are things there now, she just burst into tears. And you can see the trauma in their faces, and you can hear it in their voices. And Vitalina, the young lady who recently was married, shared that she'd heard some awful stories about what Russian troops were doing to some of the nurses in hospitals.
It's just barbaric. It's
It
just
really
barbaric.
is.
John,
Yeah.
what has been your response as Hope Now? What I mean, what have you guys been practically doing out there?
So we in the UK we've launched an appeal fund, which we've had an amazing response to. People have been so generous, both financially and with clothes and other things. In fact, we've had to put the donations of clothes on hold for the moment because our offices are chock-a-block. The Polish community in Southampton are also chock-a-block, and they've got 400 pallets down at the docks in Southampton being stored for us. So clothing wise, we're okay. We're still taking some medicines and bandages to try and support that folk that way. But over in Ukraine, our headquarters has now become a rescue center for refugees. So many are coming through from Kherson down in the south of Ukraine. Others are coming from Donetsk over on the east, and they're making their way towards ideally Poland. Sometimes folk are being sort of taken off to Romania or Hungary as well. They're just trying to get over the border and out of the country. So we've been able to host people. There's usually about between 30 and 50 a night as they come through. They're able to stay in our basement of our headquarters there, being looked after and fed by our team. Sometimes given a little bit of money to help them on their way. And also I have to say, the First Baptist Church in Cherkasy, who are one of the churches that we support, are doing very much the same thing. They're taking anything from 50 to 100 people a night, and then they move on to the next part of their journey.
And yesterday, I wrote to our MP here, John, because it seemed, whilst the UK government has responded, in unity with other nations on some things, our track record at the moment of receiving Ukrainian refugees is not good. And I wrote to our MP to ask him to raise it with the Home Office further. Now, what do you feel about that? Is there a ministry for the UK churches, do you think, in the future, to receive Ukrainian refugees?
Absolutely. I mean, I've been inundated with emails from our supporters saying that they would welcome any Ukrainians that came to this country. They have bedrooms. Some people have second homes, and they're offering those. And a lot of that has come about because you may remember over the past 10 years, we've been bringing a group of young ladies from a school in Cherkasy who sing and dance called Zozulenka in their traditional dress. Well, they have made such a great impression on people in this country that they're just opening their homes to any Ukrainians who would like to come. I fully understand the reticence of the government of opening the gates and the floodgates, but a lot of Ukrainians don't want to leave Ukraine. Ukraine is their home and they love it, just as we love it too. And they will want to go back soon. And I think the fact that they are in European countries will make it easier for them to go back when the time comes.
And you mentioned about the church, the Baptist church, for instance, in Cherkasy that you support, and how do you feel that the Christian witness will survive in Ukraine once this war is complete and whatever the future holds?
You know, I'm always amazed at the faith of our brothers and sisters in Cherkasy and the whole of Ukraine, because I'm terribly sorry.
No, please answer the phone. It's not a problem.
Sorry. Hello.
It's terrific, isn't it, Phil? Just to hear from John, somebody that has this first-hand experience, and as a church, we were able to send them
some money to help them.
£1,100 this last week.
It's really nice to hear how generous people have been already in giving practical things, clothing and whatnot, as he mentioned about the offices being ram-packed with pallets upon pallets of clothing to support people. And it'll be good to hear from him now what more we can do, apart from obviously pray so much that we are doing, but what can we practically do to help? Because Martin, we believe in a God of justice. We believe in a God of peace as well, and it's hard for people to sort of make that understanding now, isn't it, when there's so much turmoil going on?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think he's back. He's taken his phone call. John, thank you for that.
My apologies.
No,
you must be a very busy
at all.
man, John.
You're a man in demand.
Yeah, and John, what would you say to us as a church near London? How can we be a support? What can we do to further support the people in Ukraine? All our hearts go out to them.
The first thing, and I've asked our brothers and sisters in Ukraine this time and again, what can I do for you? Because the banks are not working properly, we're unable to get into the country. So they say the main thing we can do in this country is to pray for them. Yeah. Please pray every day for peace. Pray that the Lord will just turn back the aggressors and protect our brothers and sisters, and indeed the whole of the country. Yeah.
There's a real sense of evil at work, isn't there, John? I kind of, and I'm glad that internationally it's being recognised for what it is. That it is an evil aggression, almost kind of resembling Hitler, really, in the way that it's just so irrational as well.
Irrational is a very good word, Martin, because the Ukrainian people as a people are so hospitable, so kind, and so gentle. This is just not fair. It shouldn't happen. It shouldn't be happening. And I don't know the answers. All I can do is support as best we possibly can.
You said, John, that it's hard to get money over there now. Is that because of the banks are having problems themselves then, I assume, or is there other complications?
No, it's mainly to do with the situation with the banks there, because they've been bombed. I mean, there are some banks are just not there anymore. And we have a very astute accountant in our organisation in Cherkasy, and she has said it's safer for the moment not to send the money. The funds that they're using at the moment are funds that we've been sending over previously, that they've been allocated for other purposes, perhaps for family support, for students to be paying their fees, all sorts of things. And I've given them the okay to use those monies. And as soon as we can ship our money back over there, we will repay ourselves, as it were. Yeah.
It must be terrible for friends there. Many of the families have been forced to be separate, with the men of fighting age staying in the Ukraine, and many of the women and the children and the older people being shipped out to Poland and Romania and Moldova and so on. It must be awful for them going through that time of separation.
Yeah, I mean, I can just give you one small story of a young lady.
Please do.
She featured in our newsletter some years ago. In fact, I met her on my very first trip to Ukraine, which was way back in something like I can't remember, 2000. No, we're doing before that. Anyway, sitting on the bus, the minibus, this cheeky little girl sat next to me and grabbed my hand and just smiled at me. And we went to the local orphanage and camp and had a great time there of mission. And over the years, I found out that she was a foster child of Misha, our Ukraine director. Her name is Miroslava, and she had scoliosis, which is a curvature of the spine. And we were able to find sponsorships for her to go to America and have an operation. And they straightened her up and they put plates in. And she still got that cheeky smile. Well, last year, her dream came true. She found, as they call them in Ukraine, her other half. She found a husband.
Oh, bless.
And it was through a Christian online meeting area. At the time, it was wonderful. now we're not, well, it's still wonderful, but actually he lived in Mariupol. That's the name of a city that you will have heard on the news that's been under constant bombardment. And about 8-9 days ago, she Facebooked me and said that they could hear the bombs landing on the river, the other side of the river on the banks, and they weren't sure what they were going to do. And then about a week ago, just over 7 days ago, she Facebooked again to say they were taking the train from Mariupol over to somewhere near Lviv. It's not actually Lviv, but close by. It was a 42-hour train journey with no heating on the train at all. And the only food they could take with them were 4 apples. And that was for her and her husband and another couple. Well, they've arrived there now, in a place called Ternopil, and they stayed with a Christian church there for a few days. And then they were asked to move on because others were coming in behind them. And they were found a small house in the countryside, in a village. Village houses are often not used that often, only during the summer months. So in the winter, they're quite cold. And this particular house hadn't been lived in for 3 years. So it was damp. She wrote that the walls were moldy and that there were mice running around. But this is where they were for the moment. And they didn't know if they could get over the border or not because she didn't have any form of passport. So I've advised her to try and contact the border and see if they can get over. But again, you've seen on the news, the queues are like miles long. And she's not a fit young lady. And her young husband, is going to have to go back at some stage to fight. But at the moment, he's trying to look after her.
Yes.
One small story.
Thank you, John. I mean, it's though this is terrible, on the other hand, it's wonderful to see the way in which churches and the way in which you, as part of the church as well at Hope Now, are responding. So it's I keep on thinking about the verse in John chapter 1 where it says the light shines in the darkness and the darkness will not overcome it. And the light is shining brightly through the Christian church in Ukraine and churches in other countries, in Romania, in Moldova. Much of the relief work is being done by Christians, and the hospitality of Christian churches has been wonderful to see, and organizations like your own. So it's good to think about that, isn't it? Because otherwise you could become really almost overwhelmed by the sorrow.
Absolutely. I think we're all lifted by the way in which Christians have come together to make a difference. And as you say, to shine that light. You know, it just reminded me that in my early days of taking over the ministry, I remember I often used to say to Misha, would you prefer that I send, would you prefer that I send you the airfare? I could send you £250. I'm sure you could do more with that than just having me coming. And they said, no, please come. Because when you come, people are encouraged. People see that people in another country, 1,500 miles away, actually care enough to come and spend time with us. So as you say, that light, as dimly as it might be sometimes, is shining brightly there.
Thank you, John.
That's incredible, John. You know, as a church, we are committed to prayer. We are committed to believing in a God of peace, and we're really grateful that firstly, Martin knows you, and we're able to support you in many ways. But can we ask that you, in your busy life, keep us updated with your needs on the ground? Because we'd love to further support you as a church, and many here are asking the same question: and what can we do? How can we do it? But we really are grateful for your time today. We know you're very busy.
Thank you so much. Well, it's been a blessing.
Bless you, John. It's great to speak with you, and all power to you as you do such good work there.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you.
Nice to meet you, John. Take care.
Please keep praying for them.
Amen.
Amen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.
Oh, that was incredible. Absolutely incredible. It dawned on me a couple of weeks ago when I can't remember who it was in the church prayed, but I still don't think it's dawned on us as a nation yet how bad it is out there. But listening to people like John actually gives us a bit of an insight into to how just awful it is. But it's great that we can be a community that prays.
Absolutely, and I'm really pleased that the church has been able to respond financially too, and we've sent out a couple of £1,000 both to John's charity there and to Hope Now and to the European Baptist Federation, and the retiring offering for the work that our partners in Bucharest at Project Ruth are doing with Ukrainian refugees is growing. We're going to have the retiring offering open again this Sunday, and people are both giving cash through the retiring offering, but I know that gifts have been coming in other ways as well. So that's fantastic, and all of that money, not a penny of that money will be wasted. It will go towards the supporting Christian work with Ukrainian refugees.
Amen.
God bless you. Thank you so much for being with us.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.